What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome into episode number 661 of Underground Sports Philadelphia, presented by the City of Vineland. It's KB coming at you solo dolo, and I got an interesting episode. It's kind of a one-off topic episode. I've had to temporarily detox from the unfortunate happenings with the fight in Phils, and I was in Baltimore this weekend for the Premier Lacrosse League, and this video is probably going to come out later than expected just because of everything I've had going on in life, but I figured this would be a good time since it just happened. This episode, we're going to discuss the pros, cons, in-betweens, likes, dislikes of Eagles training camp being at Lehigh versus open practice in Philadelphia at Lincoln Financial Field. I think it's a fun topic. I think there's a lot of discourse around it. And I think a lot of people have started to come to fruition that the concept of having an open camp at Lincoln Financial Field is better overall for the masses than it is to have camp at Lehigh. But we'll get into all of it here on this episode. But before we get started, make sure you guys are following us on the socials at Underground PHI, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Facebook, Twitch, LinkedIn, you name it, we're on there. Follow Underground Sports Philadelphia. You can follow me on Twitter at KBIZZL311 and on Instagram and Threads at KBIZZLE11. And if you're new to the show, welcome to Underground Sports Philadelphia. The show has evolved over the last 6 or so years, and right now the current iteration of this show is your boy right here, KB, a.k.a. Kyle Bennett, a.k.a. K-Bizzle, hosting his very own solo Philly sports podcast. And that's kind of the vibe we have going on right now for the last 6 months or so, give or take. But welcome to the show, and make sure you're following us on the socials. Make sure you're subscribed to the pod. Subscribe to the mother freaking pod. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts in audio form, you can find this podcast. Go subscribe, be a friend, tell a friend, leave a 5-star rating and review. It really does help, guys, when you guys review the podcast, because then that means we're getting bigger numbers, we're getting more ears and eyes on the pod, and that allows us to continue to grow, and that turns Underground Sports Philadelphia into my full-time job, and eventually everybody who works here will have an opportunity to get on board and this be the next big digital media company, and it's out of Philadelphia, it's out of South Jersey, and who doesn't love supporting local? So keep subscribing on Apple and Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating and review. And of course, if you want to watch the show, you can do so on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. That is where you get full video episodes of this show twice a week, full video episodes of every show on our network, clips, shorts, live streams, original video content. It is all on our YouTube channel. We are currently at 824 subscribers. Keep on subscribing. Let's get to 850. Let's get to 900. Let's get to 950, and then let's get to 1,000. There's 4 milestones right now until we get to 1,000 subscribers, and then we're going plaque chasing, everybody. Let's get the channel to 1,000. It has been far too long that we have been grinding away. Let's make it happen. 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Has to happen. It has to happen. youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. Smash that like button. Ring the bell icon. Leave a comment down below. Let me know if you enjoyed Eagles training camp at Lehigh more, or if you've enjoyed open practice at the Link more. I want to hear your thoughts on why. Leave them in the YouTube comment section. And of course, this show is presented by the City of Vineland, and the City of Vineland Municipal Calendar features city-organized, city-sponsored, and city-affiliated events that are of public interest. The calendar, which is accessible at vinelandcity.org, is a good way for residents and visitors to build awareness, remain engaged with city government, and participate in local events. You can also follow the City of Vineland on social media via their Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube pages. And through these tools, you can stay connected to the community and get important announcements about programs and services offered by the city. Vineland, New Jersey, where it's always growing season. And big thank you to Security 21 Security Systems and Paul J. Gillespie Incorporated for their continued support of this podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, first things first, your boy did a little shopping trip, a little self-treatment before he went to Baltimore and scooped up these amazing pieces of apparel. Look at this bad boy. When have you ever seen this hat? Please tell me. When have you ever seen the Super Bowl champions drawn like that? No free ads, but I swear, and I am connected with Dominic Farrell on LinkedIn, and I would love to have him on the show to just talk about 47 Brand. 47 Brand is the best hat company in the world, hands down. The way that these hats fit on your boy's head in particular, it most comfortable hats I own. I love the designs. I love the fit. 47 Brand, this is not an ad, but gosh darn it. If they would ever work with us, I'd be all on board because I love 47 Brand. Genuinely, like from the bottom of my heart. Dominic Farrell, you are an awesome just innovator and entrepreneur in the hat game. And I know the apparel is there. This shirt's 47 Brand too. It's freaking sweet. 47 Brand is goated. Like, hands down. Like, this hat is sweet. I was like, oh, this is a Super Bowl champions hat like that I can wear anytime, anywhere, any place, and I'm not wearing the official like locker room one that was given to the players and everything. I can keep that nice that I have right here. Right there. That's the official one. This one I can wear out and boast about an Eagles Super Bowl whenever I want. Shout out, no free shout outs, 47 Brand. Let's get into this debate, though, because I think it's a fun topic to talk about, and I feel like not a lot of people discuss it on a medium like a podcast, like radio, like whatever it may be. But I think the topic and the debate has kind of waned over the years now that a lot of people have just gotten accustomed to Eagles training camp being staying put in Philly. Early on, many people were not a fan of it, and this started in the Chip Kelly era where he decided, hey, we're not going to go to Lehigh. We're going to stay put. And I want to find out when this started. So last training camp in Lehigh was in 2012. So we've kind of hit that branch of it's about the same time, just about. It's closing in on the same equal amount of time. So for 17 years, they went to Lehigh. And now, since 2012 was the last one, 2013 to now. So it's been 11, 12, 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 12. We're closing in on that gap there. But Lehigh was cool, and it was one of those things that got the Lehigh Valley, got the greater Eagles fandom involved in the team, and you got to go up to Lehigh and get autographs and be close to players and everything and have that experience that gave you, I don't want to say, it was minor league almost. Like it was that opportunity to kind of just go and experience training camp and be that much closer to the players as a fan. And this article from a couple years ago from Les Bowen where he said fans would journey by the thousands to the practice fields of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. RVs would be in the parking lots. The grandstands of the field would be packed, and that was training camp. And now, since 2013, when Chip Kelly came in, that was one of his big things that I think he got right. And that's no slight to, people in the Lehigh Valley and them not being able to go to training camp, or just fans in general not being able to go to training camp. But I think logistically, it has made way more sense for the Eagles to hold training camp in Philadelphia. You have all of your necessities, all of your training facility available to you. You're not sleeping in a college dorm for 2 weeks. Your players can sleep in their own beds. They can be in their own homes. And I think it just gets you that much more prepared NFL-wise. You're not practicing at a college. You're not you're not going through the college dorm routine. And I think it just makes players more comfortable. And at the end of the day, yes, the Eagles went to 3 straight NFC championship games, 4 total, in that Lehigh Valley era training camp, discourse. But at the end of the day, does it make sense to risk, having players dealing with all that and uplifting themselves from their families for 2 weeks on top of all the travel that you do as a team and everything? I don't think so, in my opinion. I'm trying to see here, because so if it was for 17 years and it ended in 2012, that would mean 1995 it started. So, I mean, from 95 to 2012, you're going to Lehigh Valley. You're doing all this stuff. And I don't think it makes sense, You go to 4 straight NFC championship games from 01 to 04. You go in 08, so 5 NFC championship games in the Lehigh Valley era. Did you win anything? You won 1 NFC title. And since you've been in Philadelphia, you've won a Super Bowl and gone to another. I think the preparation factor for these players to stay in market, stay at home, be with their families during training camp when the season is long enough as is, and have just the proper NFL medical, physical, mental, and everything amenities available to them for training camp is such a win. And open practice, while it's $10, $20 for a ticket, all of the proceeds go to the Eagles Autism Foundation, which I think is great. It does open the opportunity to having more fans at training camp. Now, my biggest my biggest gripe, I would say, with training camp is that there's only 1 open practice now. There used to be 2 when they started doing it, and I think that was solid. There was 1 early on, there was 1 later, and it allowed people to get into to Lincoln Financial Field for a much cheaper price than a game day. It allowed you to experience the stadium. It allowed you to experience an environment that felt like a game day. And I think my only gripe is that now there's only 1 and there's 1 opportunity to go, and that limits just the interaction and the ability to have fans, be in the stands and watching that open practice. And it seems like the players enjoy having the fans in the stands for that practice. Now, I'm not saying have fans in the stands and do every practice at Lincoln Financial Field for training camp. No. But if you had 2, maybe 3, where you allow fans into the stands at the link, night practice, and kind of just give that game day environment to the players too. And Saquon Barkley said it, it felt like he was back at Penn State having 55,000 plus people at open practice this past week. That's crazy, you know? You see every year the videos of Lincoln Financial Field at open practice just going viral because it looks like a game day. A lot of stadiums look like what Eagles open practice looks like on a game day. And I think it's really cool that we as Eagles fans are able to capture that vibe and capture that magic for a practice and make it feel like a game day. Like, there's tailgating going on for a practice. There's so much going on down at the sports complex for an open Eagles practice in the beginning of August. And I think that's really, really cool. Now, I'm not saying Lehigh Valley wasn't the same. I'm not saying that people weren't camped out and, hanging out all the time. But I think for the betterment of the players and just the ability to prepare for a season, being in Philadelphia makes so much more sense. Logistically, you're not paying for travel. You're not paying for buses to get the guys up to Lehigh Valley. You're not renting out college dorms. You're staying put and making it a lot easier for who at the end of the day is your product. Like, you're making it easier for your players and coaches to operate, be in market. Not that Lehigh Valley's like out of market per se, but you're outside of your home city, and you give the players just a sense of preparation for a season and allowing them to not cut short family time. And I think that is so important. Lane Johnson talks about mental health very openly, and I appreciate Lane for that because I think it's super special to have somebody who is not afraid to hold back about talking about mental health. And I think, players having the ability to be at home during training camp and not away from their families and not away from a routine that makes sense to them, and not having to switch up, sleeping amenities, and not having to switch up, meal amenities, and just a routine that you get into is super smart. And I think the Eagles pivoting away from going to Lehigh, at the end of the day, did it suck for a lot of fans who were not necessarily in Philadelphia? Sure. But also at the end of the day, you're making things so much easier for, I thought Venom was falling over. You're making things so much easier for your players, your coaches, your staff. You're making it safer for the players as well. And I think that's what a winning culture is all about. I think that's what being able to stay as successful as the Eagles have year over year, season over season, at this point, decade over decade. There's been very few unsuccessful Eagles seasons over the last 20 years. And I think, a lot of that has gone into just the early season preparation of being at home and being in an environment that is familiar and easy to acclimate to, rather than uplifting everything, effectively moving into a dorm room for 2.5 weeks and being away from your family for that long. And I think that plays such a huge part in everything. And the mental aspect of it, cannot be dismissed when it comes to the NFL. And when you have guys who are mentally prepared in the arena that they are going to be performing in, it's huge. Now, this season, I think even more so emphasizes that, because the Eagles are starting their regular season on the road, even though they're the home team, on the road in a foreign country, in a different time zone, and on a non-traditional NFL day. So that's also something that I think, the more time they spend here, the better. And that's also the one reason I wish this year they would have done more than one open practice. Because you eliminated a home game by having them play in Brazil. And looking back at this Eagles schedule this year, I want to pull it up here because it's been a while since I looked at this. Yes, you have one one home preseason game on August 24th against the Vikings. But that's also a Saturday at 1 o'clock. Weird time, again. But, your next game after Brazil is home against the Falcons at 8:15 p.m. on Monday Night Football. And then you're on the road to wrap up the month of September, and then you don't come home again until October 13th because you have the bye in week 5. And then you go to the Giants, you go to the Bengals, and then you're home November 3rd. And yes, the Eagles are home a majority of the tail end of the season, where you have from November to the end of the year, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 home games. But you're also playing a neutral site game, so that eliminates one of your home games. And I mean, in November, you have to go to LA. You have to go to Baltimore. At the end of October, you have to go to Cincinnati. Beginning of the year, you have to go to New Orleans, to Tampa Bay. So, I mean, it's a lot of away from home. And that's why I think being in Philadelphia for training camp makes so much more sense. And I just wish the Eagles would or could find a way. I know there's a lot that goes on in the summertime because they're not playing games. So, concerts happen. The monster truck rallies happen. Professional soccer happens with the international friendlies. And then you obviously have Phillies baseball going on. You have concerts at the Wells Fargo Center going on. So there's a lot of scheduling and everything. But if you were able to do it in the past, I think you can still pull it off and execute it in a way that makes sense now. And giving fans an opportunity, whether it's, one open practice in July, one in August, I think that makes a lot of sense. Maybe you do an open practice, beginning of July, that first weekend in July, and give the fans, that entertainment value there. And then you have open practice in August. And I think there's so much that makes sense that you can make it work. And I wish they would have been able to do it this year with the Eagles being on the road, even though they're the home team, being on the road for the first game of the year in Brazil. And for the first 2 months of the season that are like prime tailgating and like good weather tailgating, the Eagles have one day game, and one of them's a Monday night, which is your home opener. So in a lot of ways, the Eagles got like screwed in the early go of the season. And I'm not necessarily complaining. I'm just saying from the general consensus of what I think a lot of fans would have wished to have seen happen is just a little more connection with the team. And I think a lot of people are very excited about this team and ready to put 2023 to bed and not remember how that season ended and not remember how much of a grind each and every game was. And they're ready to look forward and have this year be a lot more like 2022 rather than 2023. And I think there's a lot of buzz and general excitement about this team when you bring back a C.J. Gardner-Johnson, when you have highly touted and talented draft picks coming in, when you have new coordinators coming in, when you have new expectations set for your head coach who's returning, when you have new expectations set for your franchise quarterback. There's a lot of buzz around this team. And I think if you were able to give the fans a little bit more of a connection point with the team this season, it would have built the excitement that much more, and it would have created an environment that I think may have been unprecedented going into a season. But nonetheless, I think open training camp blows the minds and expectations of everyone year over year, and it is such a cool thing. I've gotten to experience it before back in 2017, Super Bowl year. And it was really awesome to just take it all in. And that was a year when they had 2 open practices. I went to one in July, one in August. One was at night, one was during the day. It was really cool, and it gave you just a different perspective of Lincoln Financial Field. And like I mentioned, I think at the end of the day, to give fans who traditionally are not able to afford to go to a game because of how expensive the NFL ticket can be for a family to attend an NFL game. You're giving them that point of entry at a much more cost-effective rate and allowing them to experience your stadium, allowing the environment to still feel like a game day because there's so many people there for it. And at the end of the day, they have a good time. They're going to try to find a way to come back. That's how I view things as somebody who's a consumer and a business owner. If you give people a reason to come back, they're going to come back. And at the end of the day, that's what the Eagles should be looking at when it comes to open training camp at Lincoln Financial Field, is finding a point of access for people who are unable to attend games, give them that game day feel, and then say, hey, how can we get you back in the door for an actual game? Even if it's the preseason, you know what I mean? And like give them a preseason game to experience. And then maybe the preseason game environment is elevated from that open practice environment. And then it's like, how do we get here for a regular season game? You know? It's all about building, you know, the mindset of giving that game day experience day in and day out. And I think it's very possible. It's a possible thing to do. It's just a matter of giving the opportunity and affording the opportunity and not limiting the access. And I know, like, you don't want fans at every practice. That's not ideal. That's not conducive to the players. It's not conducive to growth for training camp and conducive to growth for a team. But if you give fans 2 to 3 open practices, and 3 may even be pushing it, maybe 2 is enough. But if you bring back multiple open practices, I think you give fans that opportunity to get in the door and experience Lincoln Financial Field. And, you know, NFL stadiums, for the most part, it's a much different vibe than a baseball stadium, where I feel like a baseball stadium, there's so much to take in. There's so much uniqueness to each baseball stadium in 30 markets for Major League Baseball that, like, you want to experience the stadium. But I think when you're at a football stadium, from just my experience at 2 football games, you know, football stadiums I've been to 4 games, and that being Lincoln Financial Field and MetLife for an Eagles game. It's not really about seeing the stadium. It's about experiencing the energy and the camaraderie with your fellow fans and just the game day experience while you're in your seat. That's what an open practice can do on a smaller scale, because it's not really game action, but you have fans who are there and want to be there and are creating that environment to make it feel like a game day. You know, you have tailgating going on. You have Eagles chants happening every 5 minutes in the stands. You have so much going on that it makes it feel like that game day environment. And if you have somebody who's never experienced an Eagles game before, you bring them to an open practice for the first time, they're going to want to come back. They are going to want to come back. I can guarantee it. And then, you know, you get that point of access for a preseason game. And then you get a point of access for a regular season game. And just feeling what that energy is like and how you can just elevate the fan experience that much more. And I think if the Eagles were to bring back the multiple open practice format, you're opening Lincoln Financial, especially now too with just 3 preseason games, and for whatever reason it feels like the Eagles only play 1 home preseason game a year now since they've gone down to 3. You've eliminated a preseason game point of access for fans. So bring back an open practice. That maybe even in my mind creates more of a reason to have 3 open practices, because there's only 3 preseason games. One of them's at home this year. You've eliminated a home game. It would have been really cool to have multiple open practices this year, actually. And I hope Jeffrey Lurie somehow finds a way and is able to do it. And I think he's one of the best owners in sports, and wants the fans to experience this team year in and year out. And I think if you open the doors to Lincoln Financial Field just a little bit more, you bring back the camaraderie and you bring back the vibe, and it may not be that smaller stadium vibe of Lehigh and that smaller field vibe, but you bring back that game day experience on a smaller scale because it's just practice, but you're bringing a game day experience to practice for fans, for players, and it feels like across the board everyone really enjoys it. And I think that is just a huge benefit of training camp staying in Philadelphia and not being at Lehigh Valley anymore. But if you experience training camp at Lehigh Valley and you miss it, or it's something that's a core memory for you, leave a comment in the YouTube comment section. Leave a 5-star review. Let me know. Tweet at us at UndergroundPHI, at KBIZZL311. I want to hear your stories. Tweet us your favorite training camp stories from Lehigh Valley, from open practice, from Philly, whatever it may be. I want to hear training camp stories. Leave them in the YouTube comment section. Tweet them at us. DM them to us. I would love to hear them all. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Do you think it's been better with training camp being in Philly? Was it better at Lehigh? Or has it kind of leveled itself out now that we've gotten a good sample size for both? Has it kind of made sense? Let me know. I want to hear your thoughts. Make sure you guys are following us on the socials at Underground PHI on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Facebook, Twitch, LinkedIn, the whole 9 yards. Follow me on Twitter at KBIZZL311 and KBIZZLE11 on Instagram and Threads. Subscribe to the pod, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast in audio form. Leave a 5-star rating and review. Goes a long way for helping the show continue to grow. Helps your boy out immensely and really creates this into being my full-time gig when you subscribe, especially when you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@UndergroundSportsPhiladelphia. Leave a like on the video. Hit the bell icon so you get notified whenever a new video comes out, new live stream, whatever it may be, on our channel. And leave a comment down below your best Lehigh Valley training camp stories because I want to hear them and see just the vibe of what it was like at Lehigh Valley. And if you wish it was still there, or if you're cool with it being in Philly and it makes more sense for the players from a health and safety standpoint. And of course, guys, this show is presented by the City of Vineland, and whether you're a company looking to expand, relocate, or you're a new business startup, selecting the right location is critical to your success. Vineland, New Jersey offers both an affordable business location and an excellent quality of life. The city's economic development department is a one-stop source for moving your project through the development and approval process, and their goal is to make this process as smooth as possible and to provide the fastest turnaround times in the region. If you're considering potential locations for your operation, contact the Vineland Economic Development Team at 856-794-4100. That's 856-794-4100. Vineland, New Jersey, where it's always growing season. And big thank you to Security 21 Security Systems and Paul J. Gillespie Incorporated for your continued support of this podcast. And this has been episode number 661 of Underground Sports Philadelphia. Episodes will be coming out a little more frequently in terms of just like back to back to back and catching up. We've had a crazy couple weeks with just our Olympics coverage, me being on the road and catching up, and a whole lot more, but we will be back on track. Promise. Apologize for falling behind again. But I got some good stuff in the works for the people to get prepared for. So keep on listening, keep on subscribing, keep on being yourselves, and I'll see you guys on the next one. But until then, I'm getting the heck up out of here, and I'm signing off. Peace.